We're going to talk about what's new in Cabinet Vision 2025. So let's get into it. The first slide we've got here is the installation itself of Cabinet Vision. So there's been a lot of work that's been put into the installation process of the program. When we try to install Cabinet Vision, we're going to be asked like the bare minimum of questions that Cabinet Vision needs to know so that it can install itself. And then once that's done, it will look after the rest. But what will be a little bit different and what we may not expect is when we go to open up Cabinet Vision for the first time after we've installed it, it's going, if Cabinet Vision notices that we have an older version already installed on that workstation, on that computer, it's just going to ask us if we'd like to transfer any of that data across. So just so you know, if you're going to do this for the first time and you don't see that question pop up, you've just got to open up Cabinet Vision and it'll be there. But look, that's not the funnest part of this presentation, but it is good to know because we want the process of you staying up to date with the new versions of Cabinet Vision to take advantage of all these additional tools at our disposal. We want that to be as easy and straightforward as possible. But now let's get into the fun stuff. At first sight, this may not seem like a big deal, but when I was working with Cabinet Vision in Australia, I would have loved to have this button. It would have been a massive game changer for me. So I'm really excited to show you how we can take advantage of this modify for this assembly button. You might look at this and it's going to probably jog your memory. We have the modify for this project button and the modify for this room button, but now we have a whole variety of options available to us on the cabinet level of Cabinet Vision. And we're going to open up Cabinet Vision. And what I've got here is just a few different things that we can do, and we'll take advantage of this new functionality. And I've just put them there in note form so that I don't forget, because we want to make sure you see all the cool stuff we can do. So the first one we've got here is we can very easily add front skirts to cabinets. And that's one part of what's possible. In reality, we can change and modify our construction method for any of the cabinets that we're using currently in Cabinet Vision. So if we double click on any of our cabinets, we open up the cabinet view and we just want to make sure that we're in the section editor view here. Now, if we click on properties and then we go to construction, because in this case, I want to be changing the construction method, you'll see that now I can modify my construction method just for this cabinet. And this is awesome because there are going to be times where, especially if we're working on a very custom heavy project, instead, or in the past, in older versions of Cabinet Vision, we might have had to juggle different construction methods in the same room, or we might have had to come up with different ways to tackle this same issue. But now it's super simple. If I just click on modify for this assembly, I find the setting I want to change in this cabinet. So in this case, I know I've got the front skirt setting. I'll just double click on that. It's set to no. I can just click OK. And then I can follow through and make sure all the other settings are good. But once I'm happy with that, I click OK. I can update the assembly with the changes. And if we go to the 3D, there we go to the M view, you'll see it hasn't added it. Why hasn't it added it? And this is why I record my videos. Let me check. Go construction. It worked in French this morning. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not crazy. Let's try one of these other construction methods. Okay. Go front skirt. It's not going to be there, of course, because I need to be in the frameless. So there you go. Man, I was worried about the French. I should be more worried about the English webinar.
Let your guard down.
I let my guard down. Yeah, I've learned a valuable lesson. Okay, I'll work on that. I'll work out why that's not working, and we will send everyone in the follow-up email an explanation. But we can very easily take the different cabinets we have. Maybe I'll try on this one because it's a bit different. Oh, do you know what it is? It's probably because I have changed the material settings. There you go. Let's give that another go. Yes. Okay. There you go. Okay, that was a close call. Yes, it does work as simply as that. So I'll work out why it didn't work on the tall cabinet, and we'll advise you not to do that in the future when you're working with front skirts on tall cabinets, or you're doing live webinars for people. So very easily, we can add different parts. We can modify the construction method for our cabinets. And the exact same principle applies. If I double click on this cabinet and I go back to the properties, the construction, and the modify for this assembly, the exact same principle applies for all these different parts. So I can open up the settings for an individual part in an individual cabinet, and I can make the adjustments that I would like to make just for that cabinet. So let's look at some of the others we can do taking advantage of this modify for this assembly. We can also change a part's thickness. So quite often we've seen cabinet makers who want to perhaps change the thickness of the unfinished back because that doesn't need to be a full thickness material. So if we wanted to, for instance, perhaps just change a single cabinet, maybe there's something special about this cabinet specifically that we need to control. We can open up the cabinet settings. We can go to section view, properties. This time I'm going to click on the material settings. And this opens up I'm going to say attribution, that's not right, the material schedules. And then I can click on modify for this material schedule. And here I get a list of all the different parts which are in this cabinet, and I can control what material is being used. So if I wanted to change the unfinished back to specifically use a thinner material, it's very easy. I can just search for the thinner material I'd like to use. We'll use this, we can use this 1/4 two-sided white melamine. Then looking for my unfinished back, just here, I can click and drag it into that space. Then we go return, update assembly with changes. Okay, and now if we go to our end view, phew, that one works. We can see that the thickness of the unfinished back has updated. So that helps us, and that's a really good feature because we can also now control all of the materials that are being used on any different part that's being used in our cabinet. In this case, it works really well when we want to control the thickness, but there's probably a lot of other occasions where we can now very easily make these kinds of adjustments in Cabinet Vision. So 25 really takes the cake there for making fast custom changes to individual cabinets. So the third one I had, and this was one that used to drive me insane back in the day, was changing the grain direction on just single ends. It's so easy to do now with this modify for this assembly. So if we go back to this cabinet and let's go to the 3D view, and I'll open up the texture mode, you'll see at the moment, this cabinet is using a horizontal grain on the ends. It's very easy for me to switch or toggle between which direction is being used. I've also noticed I don't have the edge banding on those doors. Let's just suspend disbelief for a moment and imagine there's edge banding there. But to change the grain direction, I'm just going to click on section. We're going to go properties, and then I'm going to go back to my construction method, because if I want to control the direction of the grain on individual parts, that's on the construction method level. So I'll go modify for this assembly. Then I can find that part that I want to control. So in this case, I know it's my finished ends. I'll double click on that. And then I can choose between whether the unfinished end, the finished ends in this cabinet are vertical or horizontal grain. So let's say we wanted to make it vertical. We click OK, update assembly with changes. OK. Now when we go back to the 3D, I've got that horizontal. And so now, of course, if I was working on the section view, and let's say I added and applied finished end, it would, of course, still keep that grain direction and follow that special construction method setting. So it's really easy now to control a lot of those custom elements that are going to come up in the projects that we're working on. Yeah, so that's a lot of the modify for this assembly settings that we can take advantage of. There are a couple more. So if we go back to our slide, we go to our next slide here. This one is really cool. In Cabinet Vision 25, we can control whatever connection we want to use on whatever end when different parts meet in our cabinets. So if we go back to Cabinet Vision, let's say I wanted to, in this cabinet here, we'll go to the wire mode. So at the moment, you can see I have a connection on this side of my fixed shelf, but on this other side, I might want to change or make certain adjustments to the connection I'm using here. So when we want to control the connection settings of parts, we need to be under the face, plan, or end view of Cabinet Vision. And to make a specific change, we need to be able to see all 4 edges of that part. So at the moment, I would not be able to, from the face view, right-click on this fixed shelf and change the connection settings because I can't see all 4 edges. However, if I go to the plan view now, and I right-click on it, and I click on the fixed shelf, and then we click on the edge connection settings, now I can click on these different edges and I can control which connection is being used. So let's say I want to change this to match the other side. I've got the complete library of all the different connections I have in Cabinet Vision, and then I can choose any of them that I might like to use. Let's go the data for a moment. We'll go return, save the connection, and there we go. It's very easy for us now to add these different connections to those parts. So this is a really cool feature because it works especially well if we are, let's say we want to create quite custom cabinets that we want to save to our catalog. We could be adding new parts to these cabinets, and then we just need to find the view with all 4 sides, right click, find that part, click on the edge connection, and we can control any of the connections we want to use on each of these edges. So it's a really cool feature of Cabinet Vision 2025. And again, it highlights probably the strength of 25, one of the strengths of Cabinet Vision 25. It's that we have a lot of control to modify and personalize any of these cabinets, any of the details, settings in these cabinets to the upteenth degree. All of that control is in our hands, and it's a really cool feature of Cabinet Vision 2025. Another one here in our French webinar this morning, I did not mention that one of these cool new features is that we can very easily control the settings for our cubby feature. So on the off chance that there is someone who was in the French webinar who's now in the English webinar, let me make amends for that. When we double click on our cabinets, I'm going to be in the section view here, and I'm just going to remove, using the delete feature here, all of the face. We'll just go to the interior. When I click on this interior space here and it goes blue, I can choose Cubbies. And now we've got these cool buttons here that allow us to very quickly add in Cubbies. So let's just say I'm in Imperial. I could just put in a 3 inches by 3 inches, and very quickly we can create those cubby holes in our cabinets. And I think that this would be also very useful for when we're looking to build wine racks as well and save them to our catalog. We could take advantage of this feature. So that is some of the really cool features for modifying our cabinets. There is another one we want to talk about. So we'll go to our next slide. Now in Cabinet Vision 25, we can section our MDF doors. So Cabinet Vision will almost treat our MDF doors like they're a 5-piece door almost, and we're able to make all the different modifications we might want to make to that door. And I'll show you what I mean. So when I've got this second room here, so when I open that up, at the moment, this cabinet on the left-hand side, it is using an MDF door style that I've created in my door manager. And you can see that I have, if I go into the 3D view here of this cabinet, go texture mode, you'll see that I have the top part of these doors are using, they have the glass setting attached to them, and the bottom half we have these different, blanking on the name for it. Hang on, let me check. We have the H slats, of course, the H slats, the horizontal slats. So we can add them to the face of our cabinet doors. And I'll show you how we can do that on an individual cabinet. On the right-hand side here, I've got just a standard cabinet using an MDF door style. When I open that cabinet up and I click on the face, remember I've got to be from the section view. Now I double click on this cabinet face. You'll see I can click on section door, and now I can use a lot of these same tools that we're already used to using in the section view for our section face, our section interior. I can do the exact same thing. So if I wanted to, I could click on the split vertically. We could add these 3 spaces here. You'll notice that I can actually click on each of these areas, and let's say I wanted to drag it across, I could absolutely do that. And I could start to plan out these MDF doors with different panels. So let's add in also some horizontal. So we'll split this. I right-clicked on that blue space, and that gives me the same options as I see on the left here. And so I can add in some splits like so. And then if I want to, I can click on these panels, and on the left-hand side here, I can choose what type of panel I want to be using. So we could be using glass like we saw before. We could make it flat. So let's just go glass. And here we could use, say, horizontal slats or vertical slats like so. Click OK, OK, and we go 3D. And now Cabinet Vision has added that door to our cabinet. And it's so that's how we can make those adjustments within the cabinet level. However, I'll show you how we can configure this on the system level. So we'll close down this job and we can save that. Now, if we go to our door manager, you'll see if I wanted to make this slab door use a lot of those different designs that we saw just before, I can double click on that. I can go to design here, and just like I did on that single cabinet doors, I could use these tools at the top here from the section view. Sometimes we arrive and we might be from the 3D view and they're grayed out. We want to be on the section view. And here we can use the multi-split option, and we can start making adjustments and changes to the design like we did before. So we'll close that down, because one thing we also need to tell you is how we can associate tool sets with each of those different panels that we might have on our sectioned MDF doors. So under the door manager, you'll see you've got utilities here. And then we've got the MDF tool association button. So when I click on that, here I can tell Cabinet Vision specifically what tool sets I would like to use for all of these different kinds of patterns or designs that we're putting into our door. So that's important for us to know so that we can properly set up these doors. And then if I close this down, there is another setting we just want to be mindful of. If I go to my material schedules, and then under door here, and we open up, sorry, we don't want to open up. On the left-hand side, you'll notice that all of our door schedules now have this routed MDF setting. So if we want to be using these different designs on an MDF door, we just want to make sure that we have made those changes to the schedule for that door. So that is the that's the sectioning for the MDF doors. There is another cool feature we can we can take advantage of. It's reordering rooms. So I like to keep my projects nice and neat and tidy. Not everyone's universally like that, and maybe we have colleagues who themselves aren't totally keen on keeping their rooms in a good order. Well, the good news is we can reorder rooms very easily. And I'll show you also, if we go to our third room, the kitchen here, you'll notice that this object here, it's the first one in this room, and it's number 6 because I've got 5 cabinets beforehand in those first 2 rooms. When I reorder my rooms, it will also change the numbers so that they're in the right sequence according to how we've rearranged them. So if I go to the plan view and we go to modifications, here under order rooms, here I can just click on the rooms I want to change. So let's go and we'll move that one up. We'll completely inverse the order. So we got 3, 2, 1, click OK. And now if I go back to elevation, you'll see that it's now number 1, this object. So it makes sure that all of these cabinets are following the right order, even when we rearrange the rooms. The next one we've got is we can control the soffit height when we're making adjustments to the different walls in our projects. So if we go back to Cabinet Vision, and at the moment I've got a soffit height of 6 inches. But if I go to the plan view, modifications, and then we go wall heights, let's say I want to change this. I'll just add 10 inches, make it 106. Here I can also control how the soffit height adjusts. So if we go enter value, we'll keep it at 12. Okay. Now when I go back to the elevation, that wall has gone up and I've got the soffit height of 12 inches as well at the same time. So that can be really useful if we need to make adjustments to the project later on, and we've just begun the project with perhaps a standard that doesn't necessarily reflect the finished product. So we'll go back to our slide. If we are very comfortable with the UCS part of Cabinet Vision, we might actually really appreciate this feature of 2025. It might seem like a small detail for a lot of people. Let's go to Cabinet Vision. If I go to Utilities, my user created standards, and if I click on, we'll just go to this first one here, and I scroll down. When we're writing up UCSs in Cabinet Vision, when we start to put in the right info, I've already deactivated it, so it's not going to show you how it works. So to reactivate something we might have deactivated, we'll turn this off, the disable UCS. We'll go back to our UCS code. All right. So Cabinet Vision, when we're writing up UCSs, it will automatically want to give us a list of all the different settings and parameters that we might want to use. But of course, as we become a lot more comfortable with the program, this might be more of a hindrance than an advantage. So just like we saw before, if we want to turn that feature off, we can go to our file, then we go preferences, and we can disable the UCS IntelliSense there, like so. And then it won't, when we're writing out that code, it won't pop up because sometimes that can slow down the code writing. So we'll go back to our slide. This is another one. This is a really cool one. The speed of S2M Center is a lot faster. The development teams put a lot of work into this. They're really proud of the speed of which Cabinet Vision can load up a project. So if I go back to my Cabinet Vision, I've got a few rooms here. I've got a pretty standard kitchen. If I click on S2M Center, in the past, in certain versions of Cabinet Vision, we might have wanted to go make ourselves a coffee, make ourselves a cup of tea while that's happening. But as you can see, it just takes a couple of seconds and Cabinet Vision has loaded up all of that job. So it's an awful lot faster, and that, of course, will help us produce a lot more work in a lot less time as well. There's a lot of advantages to using Cabinet Vision 2025 because we can take advantage of the speed of which it works. So finally, we've just got a little bit of an overview of some of the different features that we've got here in Cabinet Vision. When I was preparing this presentation, it reminded me a little bit of a concept which comes up in the national sport of Australia, Aussie Rules football. It's this concept of 1%ers. It's this idea that, in any given match, it won't necessarily change the outcome, but it can greatly improve the outcome when we have a lot of different elements that are going well. A lot of these little 1%ers, these little details that can contribute to something a lot greater than themselves, greater than the sum of their parts, we could say. So when we look at a lot of these cool features we've got in Cabinet Vision 2025, they're going to help you save a lot of time in your projects. They're going to help you be able to produce a lot more quicker. And then, of course, that's going to translate to the money we save and a lot of the different cool wins that we can have when we're producing work in Cabinet Vision 2025.